It is my pleasure to introduce you to Thomas MacEntee. He's the founder and CEO of genealogybargains.com. He's a genealogy professional who's also a blogger, an educator. He's an author, social media connector. He's a marketer, network building, and a lot more. He was born in New York, attended George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and after having lived in Northern California for almost 20 years, he currently lives in Chicago. However, he has announced that he's going to semi-retire next spring and he's moving back to California. He's a tech guy who loves history. He was laid off during the Great Recession of 2008 after a 25-year career in information technology. After he was laid off, he started his own genealogy-related business he calls High Definition Genealogy. He currently shares a lot of his articles and videos for free at his website, which is genealogybargains.com. He says of himself, "I'm a lifelong learner with a background in a multitude of topics, and I finally figured out what I do best. Teach, inspire, instigate." I think he does that really well. "And serve as a curator and a go-to guy for concept nurturing and inspiration. I believe in success and that we are all able to succeed when we help each other to find success." So welcome, Thomas.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have to enable screen sharing for me. There it is, I think. Hold on. Nope.
I stopped mine.
Okay, but yeah, no, it says host has disabled screen sharing. So I think
I got you now.
Yeah. Or make me a co-host. I said I will use the power for good and not evil. I promise.
You should be able to share now.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Hold on. There we go. So, and we're going to come over to our slideshow. And there we go. All right. And so, good morning. My name is Thomas MacEntee. I'm in Chicago, where many are cold, but few are frozen. Yeah, I do. I know. If you get a church person, you know that. No, I live right on Lake Michigan on the north side. But as was said, I was born in New York. And believe it or not, I've been doing genealogy for 44 years now. I know it's all smoke and mirrors, but I will be 59 this December. And I started as a 14-year-old boy. Growing up in the Catskill Mountains, about 100 miles northwest of New York City, staying with my great-grandparents, who had a huge influence on my life. And it was February 1977 when that miniseries Roots came on TV. And everyone seemed to get into genealogy, and I did too. Keep in mind that I was before the IBM PC, no software, paper and pen. I remember sound decks, microfilm. I mean, that's how I started out. And then progressed through everything. I was on bulletin boards with the Hayes modem, and we're talking AOL Prodigy. And then in 2008, as was said, when I got laid off, I took the Boston University online genealogical research program, 15 weeks, and it was the toughest adult education I ever had. I mean, we're talking 30 hours of homework a week. It made me such a better genealogist. And so the one thing also, my background, in case we have some commonalities, on my New York side is New York Dutch, 1641 in Schenectady and Albany, New York. My mom's side also has English, 1628 in Rhode Island, the Crandalls and the Austins. And my latest passion has been my dad's French Huguenot side. If you don't know who the Huguenots were, they're Protestants that were thrown out of Catholic France. Many of them came over in 1675, as did my ninth great grandfather, Hugo Freer. And the thing that kills me is his stone house built in 1699 in New Paltz, New York, is still standing. It just, every time I go home, it's crazy. So yeah, I've done a lot of my own research, but what I'm here to show you is we took submission of brick walls. And this is how I would approach this, either personally, or if you had hired me to do this professionally. And so what we did is we took this case, I'm going to go over to it. This is the form. Where is it? Let's see. There it is. Right here. So this is the form that was filled out on Google Forms. Some of you filled it in, some Some people didn't. So we're dealing with basically the one that Carolyn Trimble submitted. It's about locating the parents of her great-grandfather, Peter Mulder. And so that's it. That's why we called it that. But any of you who have a brick wall can use this approach. So what I did also is I looked for a case that had some commonality. Reminder on the handout, it is copyrighted. I don't mind if you share it with colleagues, as long as you leave it in the format that it is. People know I don't exercise a lot of ownership over my knowledge. It's there to be shared. I'd rather be a steward for it and a caretaker. So let's get started. Brick wall, you know the term. We all seem to have them. I tend to call them speed bumps because they're a delay. I will tell you this right now. Most brick walls, and even in this case, stems from a lack of familiarity with the existing record sets out there and everything that's available. And we're talking in person and online. It's usually an education thing. It's also good to get a second set of eyes or start from scratch on something. How many times have you been researching and you just feel like you're going around in circles? So I'll show you what I did for this case. And this is the brick wall. Now I've broken it down. The form that was used had questions like basically, what is the issue? And then name, birth, and marriage and death dates of the target ancestor, about the spouse, parents or children. Well, in this case, that's our goal, to find the parents. And then here, ancestor locations, that's important. And then the other details, this is where I say, tell the story. And so this is really important. A lot of this is important. So I'll show it to you on the slides. And I apologize for my allergies. They always kick in this time of day. So this is the crux of the issue. Trying to locate parents of great-grandfather Peter Mulder, born about 1859 in Amsterdam, Holland, lived in Kansas City, Kansas, 1887 until his death in 1899. Also, so we got this information. We have the name of the person he married on 9th of January, 1886 in Wyandotte, which is Kansas. And then he died 23 March, 1899 in Kansas City. And the spouse, we have this information that she was born in Germany and that she died in Kansas City. Oops, here we go. Son, Peter Christian Willie Mulder, born 1887, Cook County, Illinois. Now, if you look back here, let's go back. The initial one was, he lived in Kansas City, 1887 until his death. So let's keep that in mind. Every little clue counts. So that whole thing of him being in Chicago, that interests me, not just as I live here, but he didn't spend obviously very much time here. That's the impression I got. So that's basically the son. There is a daughter, Wilhelmine Christina Mulder, born 1888, Kansas City, and who she married and everything. The locations we pretty much know about. And it says he may have lived in Cook County, Illinois in 1887. I bet that's from the birth certificate for the son. And then this is the notes. There's not a lot of documentation, which is common. The birth certificate for the son states that Peter was 28 years old and the son was born January 17, 1887. So that's how we came up with 1859. Look at this last one. The name is Vader Peter Mulder. Okay. So, and so other information here. And now what I'm going to do is go through the process that I go through. Let's say that Carolyn was my client. Do you know that I would have to verify all of those data points and I would have to charge for that? And I know that irks a lot of people, but think of it from my standpoint. I'm going to do a research on, if I'm the parents of Peter Mulder. I can't take what you put down, even though you're a nice person, as a gospel truth. It's not sourced. It may be based on research or based on a family story. But if one of those things is wrong, my house of cards comes all tumbling down. And so then I went up and go wild goose chases, et cetera. So That's the way professionals work. I think you can do the same thing with your own research. So let me show you first, slowly. I'll get rid of this one and we'll go, there we go. This is a genealogy research log in Excel. You will be able to get the free template. I created a template and it's pretty amazing. The biggest thing, folks, for a brick wall is you have to get your information organized. If you're just working around an ancestry, 10 p.m., you put out some Baileys and cocoa, you got your slippers on, and next thing is 2 a.m. What do you have to show for your work? Did you write down that name variation that you remembered last time? And as I get older, I just can't do this. So think of this. It doesn't have to be a spreadsheet. It could be a Word document. I have a friend that uses old black and white composition notebooks. You still buy them on Amazon, and she uses that, one for each family. But you've got to start tracking your work. If I were to say this is one of my genealogy regrets, this is it. Can I tell you how many times I ordered the same death certificate for a person because I didn't know that I'd already ordered it? It gets expensive. The nice thing about this research log is it has a to-do list. I can tell where I left off. So we'll work around it in a bit. Now, if this seems burdensome or onerous, it's slow at first. It took me a while. I would take 15 minutes to do one line, to do one record. Now I can zip through. So you know about me is that I'm probably the laziest genealogist you ever met. So if there's a shortcut out there, I will find it. So what I did is this, and I'll go through the components. Down here, I can enlarge this, but you see the tabs at the bottom. This is the research log. This is the to-do list, which we'll talk about. I created a spreadsheet for name variations. This way you don't have to say, what was that name variation? Okay, it's there. A given name, middle name, surname, what the source is. I think we don't do that enough. We don't say where we got something. And then any notes. Down here, you hate doing source citations. What I've done, and you'll see this in action, I have taken about 40 of the most popular, most used source citations for US research based on evidence explained. I created these little templates where all you have to do, fill in the brackets or the underline. What it does is it saves you money. You don't panic having to look it up in that 600-page book, evidence explained. So in a way, this is a helper. You can also expand this and add to it. The other tab down here, evidence evaluation. Folks, this is what I was so guilty of. I have since learned that when you have birth records for a person, like my great-grandfather, there are several factors that make one record better than the other. Let's say I had a World War I draft card for my great-grandfather, 1916, and then his death certificate in 1977, which would be the better one for his birth date. Well, we all know you always pick the document closest to the event. So even though it's not a birth certificate, it would be, this World War I. Draft registration. What's wrong with the death certificate? Well, it's always secondary information. It's someone is the informant. I only know of one time that the decedent was actually the informant. I know you're going to laugh at this. It was a genealogist, and she was in hospice, and she had no living relatives. And I'm sure she said, darn it, I'm going to get this right. So she pre-filled out her death certificate, and they have her down as the informant, which is really odd. But going back to that type of record, it's a secondary information. That person that is informing the physician or the coroner, they weren't at the birth. How many times have you seen a death certificate where the mother's maiden name is either wrong or missing? Because sons and daughters and other relatives have limited recall. There could be some emotion with the death. So that's what this does. I'll show you the 4-part evidence analysis. Also, getting back to World War I draft card, that card was filled out in my great-grandfather's handwriting and signed. That's primary information. That's golden. That's what we all want. And again, this comes from the Genealogical Proof Standard from Board for Certification Genealogists. You don't have to be a member to use this. There's an excellent book out on Amazon on what we call the GPS. And that's what this is all about. I bet you if anyone attending takes this approach to an existing brick wall, they probably realize that success was right under their nose. And then also, look at this. I created, because I'm crazy, a list of all the record sets or all the things that a U.S. genealogist should look into. Who would have thought, like a Christmas card list, you know, holiday cards, greeting cards. This goes down, folks, to 322 different records. So this way you don't have to rack your brain and say, oh, I wonder, you know, and so you would mark the ones that you want. Here's another trick. If you're an Excel user, let's say this is for Mulder, Peter, was it W? Yeah, just Peter. There we go. And B1859. I'll explain that in a minute. Yeah, I don't have my new glasses are waiting. I apologize. There we go. And then basically, I'm going to start to mark the things that I think would apply to him. I really don't think there's going to be anything around the house. So watch what I can do. In Excel, you can select an area, right click over here in the rows area and say hide. Now the gap goes from 3 to 34. So I can build a nice list, a checklist. And be aware though, that for some printers, Excel will still print all 320 lines, even though you've hidden them. And then finally, and this is important in this case, I took 150 of common genealogy terms that we use. And I used Google Translate to translate them from English into Dutch, French, German, Italian, Latin, Polish, Russian, Slovak, and Spanish. Now, keep in mind, folks, this is artificial intelligence. This is machine driven. I never recommend that someone take a paragraph of text, maybe in German, and try to have it translated. You need a native speaker. They know the colloquialisms, all the sayings and everything. Case in point, you know how we have the term alien, and we mean this someone that's a foreigner. Well, look what just look what the French did. They called it an extraterrestrial. Yeah, I know you swear that some of your ancestors came out of a spaceship, but this shows you that it's not always accurate. But you know, this is better than nothing. If I'm researching my German Hindenburgs, I want to know that Taufe means baptism, I think, or that's Dutch. Yeah, in German, yeah, Taufe right there. So that's all that is. So this is, if you think of it, it's one-stop shopping. I'm well organized here. I have everything I need. My theory is, why should I spend 15 minutes looking for what I need to research when I can spend that 15 minutes looking for the ancestor? So it's all about shortcuts and time savings. So the first thing is, go ahead here. There's a blank to-do list, but put in all of this information. This way you don't have to keep opening that email or opening that document. It's right here. I have everything I need. And then down here, I always use a to-do list. It keeps me on track. And let me show you another one. We just did a case, another program for legacy, and it's a much more complete research log. Hold on. Where am I? Oh, I know where it is. Silly me. It's my own genealogy. And research logs and McPhillips. So there is, yeah, and this one's a little bit different. So, but the premise is all the same. What you do, I'll go back to one for Peter Mulder, is these are all the proof points. This is what you're trying to prove. And I know Carolyn gave this to me, but I still need to prove it. That's what I need to do. So it isn't completed yet. I have target resources. When did I start? Did I complete it? No. So let's say that I do find out the birth date, or the birth location, or maybe the marriage. So if I find this, I can actually turn it green. Let me talk about colors for a minute. I was a project manager for many years in the information technology field. Imagine moving 500 workers in your London office over a weekend and doing it remotely from Chicago. Yeah, so that's the type of project I'm used to, and I had to have a color system. This is what's called a traffic light system, red, yellow, green, yellow, and red. So anything yellow, I'm still working on. Anything red, the reason it's red for me here is this is the important stuff. This is what the client wanted, the names of the parents. And then down here, you might have other things as well. Show you the one I did last week. Notice we have green. When something is green, it's complete. We're done with it. So it's a way of just saying, hey, I'm checking this off and move on to the next thing. In this case, we never proved that Anna Phillips had a sibling, so I just marked it as red. And then other things like this, these are things I still haven't done for this case. So you see what I'm saying? It's one-stop shopping, and you can get a good overview of where you're at. I don't know about you, but when I research ancestors, I'll do one for a few days and, oh, you're boring now. Put it down and pick someone else up. Where do you pick up? And that's when you have a to-do list. So let's get down to some of this, and we're going to actually look closely at it. I'm going to close this one. So I tend to ask a lot of questions. So you know the story here. We don't know when he arrived in the United States, right? And what port. I would like to think it would be New Orleans, coming up from the south, but who knows? His wife, we have information there in German. She died in Kansas City, so it's probably, she's in the 1930 census. Daughter and son, and then all of that. And this one is curious. Two things. What is this name? It's almost like Darth Vader. Vader Peter Mulder. And also, why was the son born in Cook County? The other thing I didn't do, and I always do this because I'm just a silly guy, 1887. Okay, yeah, they were married in 1886. Yeah, I've seen so much new math when it comes to the first child. And a genealogist once told me, the second and the subsequent children can come after 9 months. The first one can come at any time. And so I've seen that. So the two things, that, and why was the son born in Cook County? Were they in transit to somewhere else? Doesn't make sense to me. It could be the case, though, that maybe they were living in Ohio or someplace in the East, had the kid in Chicago, and then proceeded down to Kansas where they settled. And this is the stuff you should start thinking about. So let's start the process of researching. It's going to seem excruciatingly slow, so I'll dry mouth. But I'm going to take this one thing. Let's say we're trying to prove the birth date of Peter Mulder. Now, have you noticed how I write his name? Have you asked why I have the B 1859? Well, the truth is, if you have a lot of Peter Mulders, like I have a lot of John Austins, I want to know which one it is. So here's an example with my images. Dropbox, genealogy, record images. Oh, look at what a good boy I am. Everything is named with a certain, this is my system that works for me. The surname is always in all caps, then the name, and then B 1896 or whatever. I describe the document, and this little thing is weird. This says 15th day of June, 1900, and it's 01. It's the first page. Well, heck, I've practically written the source citation right there. Remember the days when we had 8-character limit in DOS? Now I believe you're up to 199. You go wild and crazy. Can't use certain symbols, but it's a lot better than it used to be. So it all comes down to being organized. Let's get started with this. And we're going to probably flip back to this frequently because we will have some questions. So this is how I did the research log, and we'll do another one. All that I looked at right now is a find a grave index. Okay, and let me go ahead and do this. And I did search for recent. Let's go there. And what did we want here? Find a grave. So we do death. What do we want? There we go. Do edit search. I don't, I like to go broad, but I'm not seeing some great results in the first thing here. Let's scroll through, find a grave. We could narrow it down by collection type. And we want it in the United States. See, we got us anything. And we want death records. So it was 1800. So we can go through here, and usually the find a grave is easy to find. I'm going to cheat. Hold on. This is a secret I will tell you, and it will change your life. So, okay, this is the ancestry document. This is what I found. Okay, what is the first thing that you do when you have a record? Well, you usually save the image. We can't do that here. This basically is an index. So that makes it a special type of document. But let's see if things line up. Mulder, male, 1859, Netherlands, death date lines up. Spouse's name, children's name. Oh, we start to see some variations. And then a link to the actual Find a Grave memorial. And so that's all it is. I can copy and paste this. I don't know who created this, but it's there. So let's go ahead and track this. So if I had this and I had Mulder, I would go to my research log and I would put in today's date. What am I trying to prove? I'm trying to prove the birth date of Peter Mulder, the one who was born in 1859. That's why this to-do list here is always great. I can come over here and I can just copy and paste it. Okay. What is the record name? It's easiest to look at Ancestry or Family Search or someplace like that because they will tell you what the record set is. And, you know, me being lazy, watch what I do. I highlight, right click, copy, go back over to research log, and then I can go ahead and put that in here. I have it. Yeah, there it is. Viola. What's a repository? In this case, it's Find a Grave. But if I had accessed a 1920 US census on Ancestry, who would be the repository? Trick question. It's always the government agency or the original creating agency. A thing of Ancestry is only a relay system. It's great to have these things, but for a source citation, I always want to go back to the original if possible. And speaking of source citations, yeah, do you think I could just pull this out of thin air? Notice what it says: name of the database, record set, Ancestry, the URL, when I accessed it. Because we know since sites disappear, entry for Peter Mulder, born 1859, died 1899. Now, where did I get that? Remember our friend down here, the citation formats? Let me get rid of this coffee. Down here, I scrolled through and I looked at the things that made sense. And this was, I would say it was a vital record, compiled database at a commercial site. So watch what I would do. I would take this cell as it is, copy it, Control C, go back to my research log, and then I could paste it right here and get the wrap going on. See, it gives me structure. I fill in everything, and then I'm done. No pulling of hair, gnashing of teeth. It's a more sound way to do it. Let me restore this. I'm also full of other good tricks. This is the extract. I hate doing extracts. My latest trick, though, is this. You know that some programs come with voice recognition. In fact, the new Microsoft Word, the online Microsoft 365 version, has a dictate button. And I've been known to sit there and read pages of the diary from my great-grandmother. Who wants to type that? And again, so that's another tool. I'll show you my trick for doing a transcript extract. So here we go. Go ahead and highlight this down to here. Right click, copy, go to your research log. And then this is the trick, and this is worth the price of admission, folks. Normally, what would you do? You paste this and, oh, look, it's all over the place. No, what you do is look closely. I'm going to double click in the cell, and I have a flashing cursor. I'm inside the cell. And then I do my paste, and look at that. It strips out all that HTML coding. Again, this is the procedure. You can't just smack it on here, you know? So you have to have an empty cell. And then if you're writing, you could say something, or paste it or whatever. But yeah, also I tend not to repeat transcripts. Look at this one down below. This is also proves this is if, no, why this is the same. I should have had it. Yeah, so one is the index and one is part of the website. But that's what you do is you start to build these up. Let's go over here. So we have a record name, we have a repository, we have a source citation. We haven't had the transcript extract, but we can restore that. There we go. This, folks, is the most important part. This is where you start to evaluate your records. Let's see if we can get here. I had too many bars going on. Yeah. Okay, great. So this is where most of the work is done. And having everything else here is really kind of helpful. We didn't finish. Here we go. So what would you say, using the evidence evaluation tab down here, would you say that this index of finding grave, so basically people went out and created these memorials, would it be derivative or original? Well, I didn't actually go to the grave. I didn't see the tombstone. I didn't take a photo. I'm going to call it derivative. We all know what happens when you do indexing. You open yourself up to errors. And I'm not saying that indexing is totally innocent. Speaking of which, if you're not familiar, the 1950 US Census will be released on Friday, April 1st, 2022 at 12:01 a.m. And that is going to open up a whole new world. And so, but there will not be any name index, just like for the 1940 census in 2012. It will take weeks for Ancestry and other vendors to create an index. So you're left to searching and browsing. That's what I had when I started genealogy. So this is a derivative. The information was pretty clear. Now, what do you do if you don't know if it was secondary or primary information? That's why this cheat sheet is helpful. Right down here, evidence evaluation. And we're talking primary. Let me enlarge this a bit. We're talking primary. Doesn't want to. There we go. So basically, someone was there at the event, or they recorded it right there at the event. Secondary is what we mostly find. They learned it as a story. Maybe they were told it. Maybe it's on an old document that they can't find. But secondary, while it's better than nothing, there are just so many biases and things that could influence it. And then you have blended. Also, go back over here. So do I think that I proved it? Well, what was I trying to prove? Birth date. Well, in a way, it's partial. It only gives his birth year. So technically, this is fine, but how reliable is the finding grave index? If I had the death certificate, sure, golden. If I had a coroner's report, see what I'm saying? So that's why this part is important. You don't have to do it right away. A lot of times I'll get all of this stuff captured and then I'll come back and do it later. It's better if you do it now. Same thing with source citation. And then you're like, oh, I have 50 source citations to do, and then it's 100. You know what I'm saying? Do it and then move on. And then right here, the link. This is what you're going to die for, right? Another little trick, and you may not know how it works. So let's say, do that. Let's say I want to link to this document over on Ancestry. Here it is. I can probably take this. Let's see if this will work. Go into another tab, paste it. And sure enough, it gave me that record. There is no image. So basically, I'm going to create something here that will serve as a legacy for Peter. So I've copied and pasted this into the Excel. But this URL, look at for the record. Ancestry and Family Search, they've all gotten pretty good at not changing the URLs, especially for records. So this is what I do. I go ahead and copy this URL. I go over to my research log. And right here, if I wanted to, I could paste it. But how about this? We create a placeholder called link. Now I put my cursor back on top, right click, and say link. You know what it does? Gives me a place to put this URL. I paste it, I say okay, it turns bright and shiny, and then from now on, I will always have a link to that document. No more, oh, I was so drunk on genealogy last night, I forgot where that record was. Nope, no more of that. And then over here, let's look at this closely. This is the type of evaluation you need to do. A record should always bring up more questions, especially information if you don't have it. I'm gonna go back to the internets, and there it is. So everything looks fine. Dates line up. This Boozman, I don't remember seeing that. Okay, so what do? Go back to the research log. We go over here to our to-do list, and it was Wilhelmine Adele Elise Nielsen. That's odd. The son's name is different. It's just Peter W. Mulder. And there are all these little things that aren't making much sense. Yeah, and so there's some confusion here too. We go back to this record where the Boozman comes in. The thing is that the child Wilhelmine married a Boozman. I think this is an indexing error. But it also could be true that she was married to a Boozman and then her daughter married a Boozman. Not the same person, that's a little bit too weird. But we got all this info. But look at what the questions and how you capture them. In the research log, right here, this is where I put things. So first thing is, it really doesn't give us a birth date, it gives us a birth year. This one was confusing. Let's wipe this Wilhelmine Adele Elise Boozman, not Nielsen. Could there have been a first marriage? And so I'm telling myself here, put this on the name variation spreadsheet. And folks, this is something you should do right away. Then the daughter is listed differently. Maybe she's a product of the first marriage and named a variation sheet. And then Peter William is not Peter Christian Willie Mulder. And that gets added. See, so when things are there, you've got to capture them right away. Some people send their stuff to Evernote, whatever it takes. And you keep building this up. So we have this one. Let's go ahead and do something new. And I will show you an issue. Let's go over to Ancestry. Do my search. Just so you know, usually the card catalog is what professional genealogists use. And again, I'm not going to go too narrow, so I'm going to type it right. I'm not going to check the box exact. I also don't want to put in all this stuff like spouse's first name, a marriage date. I'm going to keep it free and easy. So let's say that he did live in Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas. And he had a birth year of 1859. Not that we can prove it yet, but it will help us narrow down results. You can go ahead and search. And there we go. That's where I found this, right here. Okay, and so that's what I did. Now, anything with a with an image, let's go ahead and look for some other stuff. The other thing is this. It still bugs me about that name Bader, or Bader. I know that German names can be confusing. The other thing that I learned with my Hennebergs, they were Catholic from Leipzig. And it was a big tradition at age 13 when you were confirmed in the church to start using your confirmation name. I didn't know this when I'm researching my Hennebergs and I'm saying, I can't find these records. Well, I was not using the familiar name, the confirmation name. I should have been using the exact birth name. And so that's one thing there as well. So the Bader thing needs to be resolved. And also, why was he here? Out of curiosity, what would you think about, go ahead, taking some of this information and then say we're searching for what is the Dutch term Vader. I don't think it's a first name. But wait, let's go over here. Let's go to our research checklist. I'm going to come over here and enlarge this for you. Where are we? We have death records. All of that, directories. Yeah, but then also right here, I'm going to move zoom. Remember our genealogy terms right here? So let's see what the Dutch version of father is. I think you know where I'm going already. Well, there's no father. That's great. So when in doubt, go out to the Google. Let me go here. Hold on. So it just, and I know I could put it in as a variation. I did use it on Family Search, but something tells me this is different. So Vader, Dutch genealogy term, basically it means father. And in the birth certificate for the son, yeah, that makes sense. So it didn't come down that way. I don't know if Carolyn knew this, but I always go ahead and I think, let me go check that surname. So this is how it would be. Let's get back to the Find Your Aim Index and go back to searching. There we go. So if I wanted, now this one looks like it might be the son, right? Remember, the son was born Peter, born W and Mulder. There's passenger lists, civil marriage index for Netherlands, all of this stuff. And then I can start to narrow it down over here as well. And what I want to do is I want to get as many birth records with a birth date and birth location for Peter Mulder. Then I feel comfortable that my information is accurate and I can move on. That's the whole process. So now I didn't know about Vader either. I had to self-educate. One of the best ways, and it is in your handout, in the generic handout. Did you know that Family Search has a wiki, like Wikipedia? Yeah, I don't know why I sign in every day. Blah, blah, blah. And so under here, under search, go down to Research Wiki, just bookmark this one. I think they're up to 96,000 articles, all user generated. You do not need to be an LDS church member. Oh, I hate you too. But anyway, there is a Wikipedia with great educational articles. So just now it might be a problem with the Amazon servers too. Let me try it again. Where were we? Yeah, it might be that. So hold on, familysearch.org. Okay, maybe it's just a wiki. See if I can get it. But anyhow, it's the education as well. So we took care of that. Yeah, that part isn't working. I'll have to let them know. The other thing is, we're back to our slides. So you saw what the step-by-step methodology review was. Another thing that I would do, I would start setting up a protocol, a to-do list for the wife. So we're going to actually go ahead and take all of this stuff and copy it right here. And instead, we're going to put in, we'll assume that the spouse's name is Nielsen, as in Brigitte. And we're going to call it Wilhelmine. B, where was she born? I don't know if we have a birth date for her. Okay. They married, and so on their certificate, they might have information, but we don't have that yet. So I'm just going to leave it this way. Make it yellow. Now, I know this seems like tedium, seems like make work, but it isn't really. Let me go ahead and copy that. Let's see. Oh, I hate you too. Hold on. There we go. And then this is my other Excel trick. If you want to repeat something, highlight both and grab the corner. And we go for the right and comes up here. There we go. There we go. So I've got these to do yet. I wouldn't necessarily want to prove her. I wouldn't want to make these a high priority. Remember, that was the crux of the request. So I'll turn this back to yellow. Now it gets interesting. I'll do this too. What are you going to do with the son? The son is also called Peter W. Mulder. This is why I use that naming convention. So for him, it would be Mulder, all caps, Peter W. Born 1887. That's the way I would name everything for him because it makes it an easier way. Okay, let's go back to the slideshow. I think basically we've walked through the system. We've captured the link. If we had an image, let me find an image in Ancestry, and then I want to really get to your questions. I did use Ancestry exclusively. I could use Family Search, anything like that. I want like he's not 1900, he'll be in the 1880 census. And sure enough, that's Michigan. These are weird. So, well, whatever, there should be a Kansas one. Let's go ahead and this is where you would narrow the search. And I would say the birth was Holland, and they lived in Kansas City, Wyandotte, Kansas. Okay, let's see what we get. And go ahead and search. We played the waiting game and sing the Jeopardy song. I know that they've been slow. And yeah, we get a lot of things like this. So yeah, this could be our Peter Mulder in the 1880. We don't know where he was. Oh, here's one. That's 1854, Ireland. But anyhow, when you do get one of these in the Mulder, so maybe I need to add that. So we'll talk about this. But anytime you do have an image, this is what I urge you to do. Right away, before you do anything, go up to save and save the image to your computer. It doesn't help to save it to your Ancestry tree. What if Ancestry says, oh yeah, we're going out of business. You have 30 days to back up your stuff. I'm a big believer in having it on my own computer, not under some priority, not priority, copyrighted or restricted version. So that's a big thing, is saving those images. Let's go back to the slideshow. So I think we know we're going to build this case over time. We've already said that Botter is not an alternate name, but we're going to go through piece by piece. We might wind up with 10 birth records. Then we're going to need to sort out what to do. Another option is this: do a timeline. I did not set one up for this, but this is what a timeline can do. I'm going to close this. Here is a timeline. TimeToast is a program that's free. I like it because it's simple. It's for K through 12 students. And here is, right here, my Hannah-Burke line. And I created this timeline. Look at that. You can overlay national and world dates. Everything I have came from my research. So in 1900, I have him as Gustavus Hedberg. His real name was Johannes. Remember, I told you the name change, and I have an address. So that's fine. Go ahead and look at it. I have the image, not great, but also look at what a good boy I am. I have a source citation. But the nice thing with the timeline, folks, is look, I can stand back and see the forest through the trees. I noticed some gaps already. New York had a state census in 1905, 1915, and 1925. So where are they? So I'm missing, I have a gap here, goes on my to-do list. I have a gap there, goes on my to-do list. When you really do have recent, a very complete and very active research log. And I, by the way, will give you 2 links when we're done. The template and then the one that I use here to get Peter Mulder started. So hold on. This is the one. There's a story, not of a lovely lady, but this woman, she was a lovely lady. She was I received a picture. My great-grandmother said, yeah, she was hit by a car pinned against the building, and she died. No date, no maiden name, but this is all that work. And look at how many different documents I had just for her birth. I start with family story, death date is what I wanted. I get all of these. These are all greens. What's green? They're good. And then, of course, none of these proved did not merit results. But guess what? I still record negative information. Sometimes it's got a clue, but sometimes that's all you can do is through the lack of positive research information, start to make some assumptions. And as promised, back to the slideshow. So what would the next steps be for me to recommend to Carolyn? Go back and check every little bit of information you have there. Some of it may sound like a family story, and they have to be proven. Family history without proof is mythology. That's what I call it. And I know it's going to take time. See, the thing is, Ancestry has trained us that we get instant results. We get a shaky leaf, etc. So that's what I would do. And then I would just slowly go through it and then start to note those conflicts. Why am I seeing something different on Find a Grave? Did it come from the gravestone? Is there a photo of the gravestone on the Find a Grave website? Do I need to contact someone? Should I join a group on Facebook? There's so many things that can be done with this. It is a mystery. I'm actually going to do some work on it this weekend, Carolyn, because I want to know why Chicago, unless it was a transit point. And so there's got to be more there. I would appreciate your questions. Yes, Carolyn, I did not break through the brick wall, but I think you can see that we can clarify a lot of the family story stuff and then quickly get into finding new stuff. I'm pretty sure there's something out there with his parents' name on it. It might be in German, but it's there. Before I post my links, folks, this is my email address. You are welcome to email me about this topic. I realize that questions may not come to you for a day or a week later. That's fine. I get about 300 emails a day, so it takes me 2 days to get back to you to do that. So I'm going to pass this off to Sue while I post those other links. Sue, what did you think? You have to unmute yourself, I think. You there, Sue?
I'm here.
There you
Sorry.
go. Yeah, that's all right.
I couldn't click my button fast enough.
What do you think of the presentation?
I thought it was awesome, and I thank you very much.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but it starts out slow. When I started doing this, it's like, oh my gosh, I hate this. It's going to take forever. Now, on a night, I can find 30 documents and fill out that spreadsheet. Yeah.
Yes, I've used your spreadsheet, and I really love it.
What also would help, if I'm doing legal work, I need to produce work product to the judge. You can't just say, now, in terms of clients, some clients want the research log, and I don't give it to them. I give them a report. The research log is mine, proprietary intellectual property. It's what I worked on. So, but I'm glad that you use it. So
there is a question about using your spreadsheet or your template on a Mac.
It does work on a Mac. I've been told that this will open in Numbers. It will also open in Google Drive as a sheet cleanly on both programs. So I've been assured by users that that's the case. So I'm going to go ahead and post these 2 links right now in the chat. One is for the research log that we just worked on for Peter Mulder. Gives you an idea of structure. And then the other one is the template. So, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Carolyn, do you have any questions?
Is there anything in the chat?
That's the only one we've had so far.
Well, I guess I've stunned everyone into silence.
You did.
Or they want to get out for the good weather. Yeah, someone has a question.
No, I'm Carolyn Trimble.
Oh,
this
hi.
is my great-grandfather.
Yes. Yeah. So
you have confirmed a great many things I have done, but also some things I have not yet done.
And the thing is, I do not live a life of regrets. I mean, I was a name collector when I started, no source citations, but something bothered me about that data, and that showed up in the index. Yeah. And so basically, I have a love-hate relationship with ancestry indexing, and that's what happened. I'll tell you one case. There was a family in East Texas, I think it was 1910 census, Anglo-Saxon last name. And there's a baby called Baby Mohammed. How many Baby Mohammeds would there be in Eastern Texas in 1910? And so I had to see the image. The image, it said baby not named. The baby had been just born. But the indexer and Ancestry tends to use Chinese people. They couldn't put it in context. And it did. If you didn't know English, it looked like baby Muhammad. So yeah. And this is also why I tell people, when you have a brick wall, browse images. Don't count on indexing. I think that personally, I think everyone get this? Hold on. There we go. Family Search does the best job indexing. The reason is they do a double blind system. Let's say, Carolyn, you have the same page that I do. We both index it, and then they're compared. And any errors, the arbitrator comes in and it gets resolved. I mean, that's what genealogy research is all about. It's about resolving conflict. And so, yeah, I've always liked Family Search's approach better. But I will tell you what I find, because something's telling me there is a document out there. The Dutch were very good at document keeping, and they didn't lose a lot of documents during World War II like Germany did. So yeah, don't give up. But you do see how now, if you track what you have, you don't have to recreate the wheel when you go tackle this 3 months from now or whatever. So yeah, but thanks for the opportunity.
I would like to explain something about the Wilhelmina Della
Oh, sure.
Nielsen.
Yeah, sure.
Her first husband was Peter Mulder. Her second husband was William Bozeman.
Oh, I see.
Her
Okay.
daughter, Wilhelmina C.,
Yeah.
married her stepfather's youngest brother.
That's why the Boozman's in there.
Ouch.
Maybe it should be spelled Boozmann. Wow.
But I have that line back to the 1700s in Germany.
Yeah. See, this is why, Carolyn, everyone says, well, why do you put that B with the birth year? Well, his son is a Peter. So so he would be Mulder Peter, B 1887, and I can tell right away what I'm opening. Again, because I'm lazy and I want to save time, why should I go opening files and not see what it is? So yeah. But I really think there's hope for this. I mean, I've had some brick wall cases lately where there is no hope. But this one, I really think there's stuff out there. Yeah.
So I'm hoping so.
Good. Sue, Linda, anything?
There's a question. How do you research someone who kept changing their name? I don't know why they did that either.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen here. Well, this is why on this one that we had quick access, this one, not that great. We had this name variation list, and we just keep it current. Anything we find, even if it's an indexing mistake. Keep in mind, probably before the 30s or 20s, you did not need court case to change your name. In fact, that's how a lot of opportunists survive. They go 3 counties over under a different name and pick up a new business. And it can be very frustrating. I would think that they were hiding something or running away from something. But I think what you need to do is start to mark down what the variation is. What was the source? Was it just family story? Was it document? And then your theories here. Why would they want to change their name so much? You know, but yeah, that is a common problem. It really is.
Any other questions?
Deborah asked about your use of Dropbox.
Yes. Yeah. I've used Dropbox for years. I'm using the paid version, 2 terabytes for $99 a month. It is cloud computing. It's encrypted. When they first came out, I would not put my health or financial stuff in the cloud, but I feel comfortable now with Dropbox. This is the thing that's best. Can I show this off?
Sure.
And it doesn't matter if you have the free version or not. Go ahead and share here and go here. Hopefully I haven't broken the internet. I'm going to sign into the website. I had this situation last week, working on a syllabus for in a Word document, and I wanted a set of changes that I deleted like 5 days ago on the same document. So what you can do is this. I should go home and do, let's see what they are. Hold on. Okay, so this one. This is the syllabus for my 1950 U.S. Presentation, U.S. Census presentation. Right over here on the ellipsis, version history. That's why I love Dropbox. I can see every time I save this file. See? And then I could say, oh, I want to restore that version. I'll put an X on the end of the name. So that everyone gets that. To me, that's the biggest strength. Usually for my backup protocol, if you've ever heard me say 3, 2, 1, 3 different backups, 2 different media, and one of them needs to be off-site, meaning in the cloud. So yeah, but I love Dropbox. I really do. I think it's the best one over iCloud or OneDrive by Microsoft. It just, yeah. The thing is, they have a very robust community of third-party developers to develop plugins and everything. And so it is a real community. So yeah. Anything else?
Anybody like to turn their microphone on and talk to Thomas?
You can always email me though.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I really have enjoyed this opportunity.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
Sue,
much,
and
Thomas.
yeah,
If
yeah.
there's, he has posted the links
Yes.
to the search log and the
Right.
research log
Yeah.
in the chat.
Yeah.
Be sure to save that. Use the 3 buttons.
Right.
There are three little dots down
Yeah.
there in the lower right-hand corner
Yeah.
so that you get all of that
Yeah.
saved
And
to your document.
the other
folder.
thing I want to tell you is, Legacy Family Tree webinars, I do a lot of stuff for them. So yesterday morning, I did one called The Mysterious Death of Anna T. McPhillips, that woman that was hit by the car. And that is still available for free until next Thursday, the recording. And it's on Legacy. It's well worth seeing because it's really intense and got twists and turns and everything. But it's the same approach I take. Collect those name variations, collect every new clue, have a to-do list. Yeah.
There is one that has come through on the chat, Thomas. How to label census for women who've married, especially when the female ancestor has married several times.
Yeah.
And I have difficulty remembering all the husbands'
Yeah,
names.
I know. Yeah. The Black Widow. Yeah. No, for me, it's always the birth name that always sticks with the woman. I don't do unknown. I don't change it. What I might do is I may put in the married name. I've been known to do this in a file. M1, Austin was the last name of the first husband. M2, do you see what I'm saying? Come up with a system that works for you. It's got to work for you. It doesn't have to impress or do anything for anyone else. But it can get confusing. That's why I'm a big proponent for somehow marking each of those names with the birth year so you can tell right away who's who. I mean, I do Greek genealogy. My husband's from Greek. And yeah, it's the same thing. It's the only way to keep all that research trackable. So, yeah.
Okay, someone asked about the timeline program, and that was put in the chat.
Time toast. No, I'll put it in right now. It's also on the handout, though, on the generic handout.
Good.
It is, but I'll put it in there. And time toast is the one that I like because you don't need to know programming. It's drag and drop. It's easy to do.
That really looked like it was fun.
It was fun. Yeah.
I'm going to try that. Well, we've got a lot of people who are saying thank you, great information. I now have lots to do.
Yeah. And do it in the cold weather. It's getting cold.
Yes. Do you have any tips for those of us who didn't start documenting from the beginning? Where do we start?
Well, that's why I started the genealogy do-over 5 years ago. I put everything that I had researched in 40 years and put it away. I did not destroy it, but I actually put it aside and I started from scratch. I said, as an educator, if I'm going to talk the talk about beginning with yourself, I better walk the walk. And I did. And I built a much stronger tree because now I knew the GPS. Now I knew evidence evaluation source citations. And so that's one thing to do. Or do a review. Start with yourself. And is every fact cited? Is there a source for it? And believe me, proving your own birth date is a lot harder than you might think. So, especially with me when it's Christmas Day, which was the worst birthday ever. So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, listen, I'm going to take off and get ready for my next one.
Yeah, we've got to give him his time between meetings here.
Great. But again, don't be shy. That email address is also on the top of the handout, page 1. And I appreciate this.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
You have a chance to
Thomas.
give him your
You're welcome.
reactions down at the bottom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.